Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who are risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai, and the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Ekalia, and this video is about the Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. Alright, and this topic is, a topic that you have, many that simply do not understand. And the reason why they don't understand it ultimately is because Yahweh Shemishai has not allowed them to see it. They don't have the spirit of Yahweh Shemishai. But it is very much a part of, the doctrine. All right. You are what your father is. It doesn't matter what your mother looks like any which way at all. Okay. And when I say you are what your father is, that refers to the nation that your father comes from. Okay, so whether it be the nation of Israel, nation of Edom, or Moab, Ishmael, Ammon, Ham, any of those, your father, once he is an Israelite, you're an Israelite. Once he is an Edomite, he's an Edomite. Once he's a Moabite, you're a Moabite. All right. Once again, the mother does not matter. All right. And I have this picture here of an example of an Israelite woman who her father looks like a so-called Negro. And as you can see her look, all right, I believe Sinah's mother might be some kind of, as they call it in this world, Asian, and this is how she came out. But, look at her father, right? And then that's her. So her father looks like an Israelite. We're going to judge it based off of that. And as such, she's an Israelite despite her look. All right. It doesn't matter about the way that people look. Right now, it's all about judging the spirit. All right. Because there's been a lot of mingling. In the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18, it says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls." So they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. All right, so it's the father that matters. When you go into this word pedigree, it says the Hebrew word yalad, to bear, bring forth, beget. Now, to beget, men beget children, okay? But firstly, I want to go to, pedigree, right, in the etymology. Pedigree from early 15th century, genealogical table or chart, okay? So that's really the most that it gives on that right here, because I did take a look at it, because sometimes Esau changes things up after information has been brought out. All right, but as you can see down here, it says meaning ancestral line is 15th century. Okay, so we got the word pedigree, but it mentions the genealogical table or chart. So when you type in pedigree, one of the other words that come up is genealogy. So genealogy, early 14th century, line of descent, pedigree, descent, tracing of a family. Greek genealogical, the making of a pedigree, generation, descent, right? So it says gene, give birth, beget, all right, with derivatives referring to procreation and familial and tribal groups. Okay, study of family trees. So it says here genealogy, beget. So the word pedigree goes into genealogy, which goes into the word beget. Okay. And as such, when we look at the word beget, it says beget, especially of a man, bring a child into existence by the process of reproduction. So it's talking about the seed of the man. Okay. We can even take a look at the word beget in the etymology. Beget, from English, Old English, the sense of to procreate is from the 1200th century, generally used of the father only. So it has always been of the father. All right, saying generally used is attempting to push forward some type of confusion, but men beget children. So it's talking about the men, it's talking about the man. All right, you are what your father is. Okay, and that's why the scriptures refer to the house of their fathers, right? The pedigrees, right, which goes into beget, men beget children, the house of their fathers. So you are what your father is. That is proven there. So you have individuals who look like sinner, but their fathers look like, Negro men, right? Which would be Israelite men. And as such, that would make them an Israelite. However, things are, there's another layer to it, because no matter what it is that someone looks like in these times, you can't just look at a person and judge them based off of their looks as to which nation they belong to. You have to judge the spirit, because there has been a lot of mingling that has gone on. So Sinner, I've judged her spirit, that's an Israelite woman, point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? Her father, he's an Israelite. All right, they got the salt, we're the salt of the earth. She got a lot of personality. That's an Israelite sister, Can't say much more on that. It is what it is, But, the situation could have been where her father, despite his look, he could belong to a different nation. You know what I'm saying? He could have been like an Edomite, which is a so-called white person, which would then make her an Edomite, if that were the case, right? So you can't just look at a person and judge them based on how they look. That is a doctrine or whatever that is taught by the so-called white man, to judge people and to categorize people based on how they look. That is, a carnal thing, right? You have to judge the spirit. And, the thing about the Israelites is this, in Romans chapter 8 and verse 16, it says, the spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Shemishai. And if children, then heirs of Yahweh and joint heirs with Yahushai, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. So the spirit bears witness, right? It is our spirit, right? You have to judge the spirit. Okay, so whenever it is that I meet people or I see people or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what they look like. I have to judge the spirit first to see if it is of the spirit of an Israelite. Okay, because the situation at hand is that you got a lot of so-called, you got a lot of people walking around looking like, so-called black people, but they're actually Edomites. They're actually so-called white men. They just look like Negroes, right? Because, Esau, remember what he did to us during the slavery. And then remember what he did to the Northern Kingdom as well. Starting with the Northern Kingdom, 1492, right? He was taking our woman, popping our woman, you know what I'm saying, and whatever else. And then you have, even present day, you have some Edomites. Some of them take like a black woman to wife, so-called, and the child will come out looking like, a Negro or whatever. But that's an Edomite right there. So you always have to judge the spirit. All right. And then our spirit, it just bears witness. Like if somebody sincerely believes in Yahweh Shemishai, that's an Israelite, point blank, period. Why? Because only our people can believe. Salvation is only for our people, right? Only our people can be faithful. All right. We have to remember the promise as well that it is for the Israelites. Okay, so once somebody says that they sincerely believe in Yahweh Shemi Shai and you see their actions follow through, it doesn't matter what they look like. They're an Israelite. You know, you got brothers that look like all of the nations. You know, I've witnessed it on the YouTube, the social media, and I have met a brother that looks like a so-called Asian, you know, looks like maybe a Filipino or something like that, as they call them, right? But that brother's an Israelite, point blank period. Okay, in the book of Psalms, chapter 147 and verse 19, it says, He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh. So the Lord is only dealing with the Israelites, all right? And only we will have the Spirit, all right, to be able to, you know, judge these things, all right? It is given unto us, okay? And in the book of Romans, chapter 9, because we have to remember this, man, the promise is only for the Israelites. Okay, Romans 9 and verse 1, I say, the truth in Yahushai I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahushai for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. All right, so this is the Apostle Paul speaking, all right? And he is from the tribe of Benjamin, one of the 12 tribes of Israel, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Yahweh Shemi Shai and the promises. So there it is, point blank period. And you have people out there, you know, speaking all kinds of madness, but they're incorrect. Salvation is only for the Israelites, as it says, the Israelites to whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of Yahweh Shemi Shai and the promises. So only an Israelite can believe in Yahweh Shai and believe in Yahweh. It wasn't given to the heathen. Okay? Whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Yahweh Shai came, who is over all, Yahweh blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of Yahweh hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. And that's because a portion of our people simply will not believe, and they will not be, they're counted as heathen, all right? And they're going to receive judgment like the heathen for not returning to our power, okay? But they will be in the kingdom, all right? All Israel shall be saved, okay? But when Yahushua comes in this time, he's only coming for the elect of the nation of Israel. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And it went from Abraham, Isaac, unto Jacob, and then the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, that is they which are the children of the flesh, which are the heathen. These are not the children of Yahweh, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So those are the Israelites, man. And, you know, you must remember this, because then, you know, you have some people out there that will be talking about, oh, then why does it say in, where is it? Is it Revelation 5? I think it might be Revelation 5. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9, it says, and they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to Yahweh Shemi Shai by thy, well, to Yahweh by thy blood, right? Because it's talking about Yahweh Shai, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. So when people read this, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, every nation, but that's not what it is. All right, it's because our people are going to come looking like heathen in these days. All right, people are going to be looking like every single nation. When I say people, I'm talking about Israelites. Israelites are going to come looking like every single nation, all right, when they're delivered. But they're all Israelites, okay? And our people, a part of the curse is that our people have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And being scattered around the four corners of the earth, the Israelites have, found their, whatever little living that they can while we're in captivity. And, Jake pops the heathen woman. And then the children come out looking a certain type of way. And, it really doesn't take much. All right. Because some people would think, oh, 2 generations, 3 generations. But look at Sinner. Sinner, just out the gate, boom. She looks like a heathen. All right. You have and you have many other examples as well. And then you even have some Israelites, and this is why you have to, it's all, this thing is completely spiritual. You have some Israelites that you can't be looking at the Father and just be judging, because you have, for example, Israelite men that look like white men, so-called, and their forefathers and their entire family history that they at least know of, right? They look like white men, but they're actually Israelites. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather is an example of that. My grandfather, he looked like a so-called white man. His family, they are Sephardic Jews from Spain. That, after they were kicked out of Spain, they migrated to different parts of Europe, and they, one of the places that they landed in was Greece. And, from what I know, they look like Edomites, right? And he looked like an Edomite too. But here it is that I'm teaching the word, and I sincerely believe in Yahweh Shemishai. So despite not, being able to look at my lineage and look at, to see, oh, maybe there's a Negro looking man or something like that in it, that doesn't matter at all. It's not about that. It's about simply judging the spirit. All right. And that's what it is. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai by Shema Kodesh. Shalom.